and thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about addictions and the critical addictions that we actually carry with us our entire lives, which is this addiction that we have, reading glasses, addiction that we have to both criticism and praise, and the role that that plays in our life, because it does play a role for pretty much every one of us. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that we all have some form of this addiction. And it is, yes, most prevalent in women. Yet another one of the things that makes us special is our wiring and our training to have this addiction towards both criticism and praise. And I want us to be clear on that, because criticism and praise are really the same thing. So, hello, Cindy. I'm glad you could make it. Hi, Sue. I see you there. As you guys know, I don't always see the comments in the chat, so I'm always thrilled when I can. And I will respond as I can, as I see this. And I have a second computer over here because I'm kind of hoping the video feed pops up and I can usually see more comments on the other screen. At any rate, if you guys are here joining me tonight, I would love for you to say hi in the chat. Say hello to everybody else who's joining us. Tell us where you're from. And as I'm going through this, if you have questions around the topic or comments or just feedback for how you've experienced this, share it. By all means, let's share it. That's what we are all here for. So, criticism and praise are very much the same thing, because all that those two topics amount to, right? Criticism and praise amounts to is someone else's opinion on that particular topic in that particular moment. And that's it. The value of the criticism or the praise itself is irrelevant. We're not even going to talk, there's no judgment value on that tonight, because that's really not the focus. It's not tell people who are nasty go away and take all the good praise in, because they're literally the same thing. They are literally other people's opinions on that topic in that moment. And that's what we have to keep separate from our reactions. So, hello, Adina. It's good to see you. Who else let's see, we have Shelly. See, I do have to get my reading glasses on. We have Shelly. Hey, Shelly. Good to see you as well. So when we're able to separate it out and realize that it's not the criticism or the praise that's the problem, it's our reaction to it, then we have to look closely at what are these reactions and why do we have them? And we have them because we've been trained to have them. And our training goes back 10,000 years. And you may have heard me say this before, but 10,000 years ago to today, our brains have changed 3%. That's the shift, the change in brains that these scientists have measured. There's been a 3% shift. So when you think about the two dynamics at play, then, is one, we are pre-wired. Welcome to the lizard brain, right? The back of the amygdala. The lizard brain that instinctually kicks in, and by the way, is tied to fear, right? It's a survival mode. 10,000 years ago, we had to be nice. We had to be nice. Our survival depended on it. We were the women in the camp. We were tending the children. We were the gatherers. The hunters in most societies were the men who went out and got the meat. And then they brought the meat back to the camp. And they brought the meat back to the camp to the women that were part of their particular clan, tribe, family unit. Which meant as women, we had to be nice and sweet and attractive to attract the man to get the meat so that we did not starve. It was literally survival. So when you think about the fact that we have been wired for survival by being sweet and compliant and supportive, we're already starting from a different vantage point than men, because the men were the hunters. They weren't worried about where their meat was coming from, except they had that single focus view that they would go and get it. Now, in modern America, and modern world, honestly, we theoretically don't have to worry about where our meat comes from, except that the wiring, first of all, is still there. And second, even for modern women, such as we are, think about how you were raised. Think about the messages that were in your household. Some of the messages would be around things like in my household, the message was around make good grades because education was incredibly important and that's how you got far in life. And so if I made good grades, I got rewarded. In other households, it might be athletics, be part of a winning team, work hard, and that gets rewarded. That's cheered on. In other family environments or in all family environments, there might be a combination of be nice, be generous, be kind, put everybody's needs before your own, right? We've never faced that one. So when you have all of that going on, right, you're getting positive reinforcement when you comply. Now think about the criticism that we got also as girls growing up, right? The criticism was around don't be too loud. Don't talk so much. Don't share your opinion so much. Don't be so bossy. Think of all those messages that as women we got. Be careful about other people's feelings. This goes back to put other people's needs first. So on the positive side, oh, you're so generous, you're so kind, you always think of others. And on that criticism side of don't be so selfish. Let others go first. All of these messages that we had growing up just reinforced the idea that for our survival and to get along, we had to comply. Now, when you consider that we've had these messages since we were little kids, we've had decades of conditioning around this, which means when somebody speaks up and says, like, what did I use? I used in the ad tonight, which was funny because I wrote it before I realized I was going to put in the picture of the green shirt, but you look great in a green shirt. Our instinctive reaction is, I'm going to buy more green. I'm wearing green all the time because I look good in green. Okay, do you? Do you really look good in green? Or is that just one person's opinion of what you look like in that particular shade of green at that particular moment? And then does it matter? Right? We are reactive to the little things just as like that, like the color green on a shirt, right? As we are to the big things. Oh, don't go do that as a career. That's too risky. How many of us have changed our majors because our parents said you can't do that? Too risky, not enough money in it, not enough stability in it. Go do this instead. Right? We are so reactive to what other people want us to do that we don't even think about it. We don't even consider that there's necessarily another way. And we do this with both praise and criticism. Oh, you're such a fabulous writer. You should be a writer. Fantastic. There are tons of fabulous writers out there. Do you want to be a writer? You may or you may not. That's totally up to you. So before I go deeper, because I realized I went a long way in that before I said hello, my name is Natalie Hahn. For those of you who don't know me or who are joining us for the first time, it is Training Tuesday. We do this every week. We have different topics every week. So I love everybody who's saying hello in the chat because I can see some of the comments tonight, which is super exciting. Hey, Tracy. Hey, my girl Tracy's here. You guys have seen Tracy on videos and other things that we've done, actually. She's been a guest writer and she's done videos with me. We did an interview-ish thing, right, Trace? For Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And Tracy is a survivor and she has an amazing story around that. So at some point, go check that out because that's still here on the page. And Kimberly's here. Hi, Kimberly. So thanks, guys, for joining tonight for Training Tuesday, where we're going to talk about why it's important to detach from this phenomena that we have been raised in. Hey, Jennifer, hello, I see you there. But we've been raised in this culture, I guess, in this female groove of being very reactive to how other people see us. And the piece to keep in mind, it is how they see us in that particular moment at a time through their own lens. Criticism and praise literally have nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. And everything to do with the thought process and the lens of the other person who is uttering that particular opinion. So that's the first thing we have to recognize. It's not us. Now, there are ways that we respond to criticism and praise that actually change like our trajectory. They change our dynamic of where we're going or what we're doing literally for years. So I'm going to share this story, and it's kind of a silly story, but it's just an example. When I was dating my ex-husband, so before we got married, I was in grad school, and so one of the ways to a man's heart is to cook, right? So I was always cooking for him. Now, I happen to love to cook. It's one of the things I really love to do. And I'm sorry, Sue, repeat, please repeat what? let me know what part you missed, and I'm happy to go over that again. But in the meantime, I will start with my story, which is, so I was cooking for my ex-husband, who at the time I was just dating, and went through a whole bunch of recipes of my mother's, who's the world's most amazing cook. And one particular dish that I happen to love, that was a childhood favorite of mine and that I made for him, is a Japanese dish called sukiyaki. And it's meat and vegetables in a sauce, and you serve it with rice, and you crack an egg in it and all sorts of good stuff. But I made it for him, and I got the, wow, this is amazing, and we're dating, so we're both on very good behavior and everything. But when I got that compliment, the praise, you're an amazing cook, this dish is fantastic, what happened? I made it all the time. All the time. I would say we then got married, and we had been married for several years. Oh yeah, criticism and praise have nothing to do with you. Oh, Sue, I will say that multiple times, but I'm glad you wrote it down. Criticism and praise have nothing to do with you. So I made the dish. He loved the dish. I got all this praise for the dish, so I made the dish again and again. And over the course of the years of our marriage, at this stage, I probably was making it every other month, every 6 weeks. It was part of the regular rotation of what I made. We had probably been married 10 years when one night at the table, and again, 10 years of marriage, at least 10 years of marriage, 3 kids, and we're sitting around the table, and I'm dishing out the sukiyaki, and he just heaves this sigh and goes, I really don't like this dish. And I was literally stunned, because for the past dozen years I had assumed that he loved this dish, because the first time I gave it to him, he gushed about how great this dish was. And I said, no. What I no, you don't. Yeah, you love this dish. You told me you actually love this dish. And he stopped and he looked at me and he goes, what? And I said, you told me the first time I made this dish for you, you told me how much you loved it. That's why I've been making it for 10 years, 12 years, something like that. And he goes, oh, I probably did say that. And he goes, but I gotta be honest. I love it when people start with that, but I gotta be honest. Oh, please be honest. But I gotta be honest. When I said that, and I was living in this crappy apartment with this other guy, and neither of us cooked, and I was eating tuna fish out of a can. So yeah, it was good compared to that. And he's like, but in the course of all the years of all the other things you've made, this is definitely not my favorite dish. So that one little piece of praise that I had 10, 12 years ago turned into multiple meals that my husband basically sighed his way through eating. And finally, after that much time, spoke up and said, I actually don't really like this, which was not the reason our marriage didn't work out, but it's just a story of how we change. We change our behaviors. We change. Now, had he not loved the dish, does it mean I never would have made it? No, because I happen to love that dish, so I definitely would have made it. But probably would have made it at times when either we had people over and were entertaining, so I could make other things that he could eat too, or when he wasn't home. So it just so happens that my ex-husband was traveled a lot. He was in the military, and he also had a job where he traveled a lot. So he wasn't actually home that much. So I could have made it plenty of times just for me. So Tracy, I tend to project and catastrophize everything. Compliments and criticism. Tracy, that's taking everything to the worst case scenario, which is actually where our brains automatically go. They automatically go to worst case scenario. So you're not alone. You're not abnormal. This is what we do. We are always looking for the hidden message or the subtle context, because there must be something else there that's going to tell us how we're supposed to respond or react in that moment. And the response that we have, that reaction that we have, is based on us feeling safe and secure. It's not actually based in reality, because like I said, modern woman, we don't really have to worry who's bringing the meat home. We're perfectly capable of buying our own meat at the grocery store. Some of us are even perfectly capable of hunting our own meat should we want to do that. We're not reliant anymore, but Tracy is an overachiever, even in her stress and her worry. But it doesn't stop the fact that the wiring is still there. The stress and anxiety and the worst case scenario wiring, that's still there. So we're still going to fall prey to that. So it takes conscious and active training to unwind what is literally decades of training for us. This is why there are women who come to me and they're in a, I was going to say women of a certain age, but it's really not the age. They're at a certain stage of life. Women who are empty nesters, very common. Women who are divorced, actually, especially recently divorced, also very common, come to me with the phrase, I don't know what I want, or I don't know myself anymore. No, you don't, because you never really had a chance to. That's the thing. Most women, a lot of women, were never really given the full breath, the full leeway to actually go explore everything they wanted to do. We weren't given permission as kids to be loud if we were loud, to be adventurous or take these big risks if we wanted to do that. And for those of us who are of a certain age, the boys were allowed to do that, but not the girls. There's, I hope, a lot less of that now with younger generations raising their kids. But the fact remains, there are still plenty of us out there with decades of wiring where we were already told how we were supposed to act, react, think, and dream in accordance with everybody else's opinions around us. We never had the freedom. So here you come up and you're in your 40s or 50s, some of you even in your 30s, but definitely 40s, 50s, and 60s. And especially if we're at a state where for the first time, we're not accountable to anybody for what we do or what we want. And what happens? That feeling, that glorious feeling of independence and freedom, right into overwhelm, right into, oh crap, I don't even know. And then we feel stuck. Kimberly, how do you quiet the voices in your head when you get criticism or praise, especially criticism? We are going to talk about that. So first I want you to go into this knowing not your fault. Not your fault because it wasn't your training. It was the training you were subjected to. And the depth or extent that you might be prone to this, to being super reactive and sensitive to criticism or praise, it just has a lot to do with how you were raised and then how those messages were reinforced in the society, the larger society you participated in, and in school. Right? The training that starts in the home environment just gets compounded when those messages are reinforced when you go out into the world and at home, and guess what? Also at work. Because for most of us, for easily the first decade of our career, we're still trying to figure out what our bosses want from us. And how do we deliver that? We're still not thinking, what do I want to do with this job? What do I want to create with this role or in this project? We're thinking, how do I make my boss happy? And that's what we're going after. So even well into a decade or two into our career, we're still programmed to react to criticism and praise just by bosses and coworkers instead of family members and teachers. Sharon, how are you? I'm happy you're here. Sorry, if that's too distracting that I keep popping in and out, but I'm seeing comments tonight and I'm super excited about that. So let's get started because Kimberly asked the question of the night, right? Which is, so how do we break away from this? How do we start unraveling that pattern? So there's always 3 steps I'm going to give you. There's actually, it ends up being like 7 steps in this or 8, but the first step honestly is just the awareness. The first step is recognizing this is a moment where someone is asking or is providing me with praise or providing me with a critical comment. Irrelevant, remember, it's irrelevant whether it's criticism or praise. This is a moment where somebody's providing me with their opinion about something I should or should not do, right? Or about something that I've done. When we can recognize this is a moment where somebody's giving me their opinion, the first thing I want you to do is to take a moment and I want you to conjure up, tap into your inner Queen Elizabeth I. Queen Elizabeth I. One of my favorite heroes of history. Queen Elizabeth I was known as the Virgin Queen. I have zero idea whether she was actually a virgin or not. All history points to no. The point of the Virgin Queen name was she never married. She never married. She was hit with multiple proposals her entire life from men from all over the world, because who wouldn't want to rule England? And her response to every single one of them, legendary and classic, was, "Thank you very much for your proposal. I will take this under very careful consideration." And I think she smiled probably too. And that is all she said. Thank you. I will consider it. Let's use that in modern English, right? Thank you. I will consider it. So the first step is just awareness that somebody is hitting you with their opinion, positive or negative. They're hitting you with their praise. You look great. You sound great. You did a good job on that. Thank you. That's all you ever need to say to praise is thank you. If it's criticism, you could have done this a little differently. That shirt looks terrible on you. You shouldn't talk like that. Whatever that is, you can say thank you. I will take that under consideration. Now that does two things. One, that means you are conscious in the moment that somebody has just hit you with their opinion. So it gives you a breath. That phrase gives you a breath. The other thing it does is it acknowledges the other person has spoken, they've uttered a word, and it's told them, I'm not addressing this with you right now. Thank you. I'll consider it. You're creating a boundary. Ta-da, you're creating a boundary. You've just put a barrier in that said, I heard you, I recognize what you're saying to me, and I'll give it some thought. I'll get back to you. That's the first step. And Tracy, you're absolutely right. Awareness takes practice. And the minute you start thinking actively about this, you're going to find yourself getting back into that reactive mode like that, and then you're going to want to beat yourself up for it, which is a total waste of your energy. So please don't do that. Recognize that the more that you catch yourself in that old pattern, the more likely you are to catch yourself the next time in advance of the reaction. And it just takes practice, so much practice. But don't let that deter you, because the outcome is where the true freedom lies. The outcome is where you actually get to build your life the way you want. And this sense of release from other people's opinions is huge. So, first step, channel your inner Queen Elizabeth. Practice, if you have to practice saying it out loud in the mirror, I don't care, but practice saying thank you. I will take that under consideration. And then shut up. There's nothing else to say. So that's step one. Step two is introducing yourself to a different process for evaluating criticism. This is specifically for criticism. For praise, we say thank you and we let it go. What we don't want to do is become reactive to praise, because that just puts us into patterns and habits that make other people happy and may or may not serve us. When it comes to criticism, we want to evaluate it. Because what I'm not saying all criticism is bad or unwarranted or wrong, because it's not. We don't know. What we know is that we react to it so automatically that we don't even consider whether it's worth reacting to. That's the pattern we want to break. So the steps you're going to take are based on a process that I got from Alison Armstrong. She's a researcher. You've heard me talk about her before if you've been on Training Tuesdays. I love her. She's dedicated over 30 years of her life to studying men, how men are wired, how men think. And then she has a whole separate angle. So she's a whole bunch of research on men, and then a whole separate angle on how men and women are wired to communicate. Not at all, actually. We are wired so differently. But in her research, she talks about how we can help establish better communications. So this is based on hers. I modified it a bit really to be about women and how women need to be thinking about criticism. So step one in your new process, you've taken the breath. You've said, thank you, I'll think about it. Now you're going to go think about it. That criticism. Was it valuable? Was it valuable? Should you do something? Your first question is, who? Who delivered the criticism? Because if that person is not valued in your mind in some way, shape, or form, that's your first fit gate. If they can't cross that first barrier, then what was the point of the criticism? If they are not someone whose opinion you value in some way, shape, or form, they have failed the first fit gate, and you stop at, thank you, I'll consider it. I considered it, it was you, no thank you, you're done. If it's somebody you value, you go, okay, this is somebody who I like or who's important to me or who I think is smart. The next question is, does their opinion matter in the very specific thing that they offered the criticism on? Because not everybody's opinion is valid across all domains. Like a big gripe that I always had in marketing was when I would work with a CEO who would want to edit, for example, a paper or an article that I wrote that was to IT executives, right? So I'm writing to tech guys and I'm writing a blog or an article for them about something around cloud computing. and my CEO wants to edit it because he thinks that there's something in there that isn't quite right. He's not my audience. Is he a smart man? Yes. Do I value his opinion? Yes. Is he the right guy to be editing this document and giving me that feedback? No, he's not. He's not my target audience. It's even better when I have men criticize my work when I'm trying to write for women. It happens. It totally happens. Jennifer, what if it's your boss, but you have different values and disagree on everything? That is a much bigger question, to be perfectly honest. That's because that's not just about criticism at that point. That is about what are the values that you have for work and for the work environment you want to be in. If you're disagreeing on everything, we should talk, Jennifer. That's a much bigger question. Here's what I would say to you though. Let me finish this actually, because I want to revisit that, Jen. So give me just one moment. So the second fit gate is, do I value their opinion on this specific topic? Take my mother, for example. I love my mother. I think she's one of the smartest women I know. She has all kinds of really cool experience. I take her advice on a lot of things. But there are some things I don't. There are some things I say, thanks, Mom. I'll take that under consideration. Like being an entrepreneur. My mother's a very smart businesswoman. She has a degree in business. She's been involved in business and environments like that her whole life. She's worked, but she's never been an entrepreneur, which for those of you out there, and I know we have some who are entrepreneurs, you and I both know this is a very different thing than just being in a business or part of a business team. It's different. So as much as I love my mother, I consider it no disrespect to her. And Jennifer, if you did leave, that's awesome, but we're still going to address that a little bit. No disrespect to her. It's just in that particular area of my life, her opinion has a lot less weight. In other areas of my life, it has all the weight in the world. So who's offering the criticism? Why does their opinion matter? Third fit gate. Is it valid? Is the criticism even valid? No matter who it comes from, right? Move that aside. Is it a valid criticism? Fourth, what will it cost me to change? This is the question we never ask ourselves. What will it cost me to make the change that this person thinks I need to make? Does it cost me a night's sleep? Does it cost me 2 extra hours of work? What does it cost? What's the cost to me if I make this change? Does this rub against my values? So now I'm not showing up the way I want to show up. So you have to get clarity on what does it cost me? And then the last question you ask yourself is, what does it cost me not to change? If I don't respond to this criticism, then what's at risk? So like to Jennifer's point, does my boss fire me? I'm not saying he fired you, Jennifer. I'm just saying that would be a consideration, right? If you're worried about your boss's opinion and he's always telling you what to do, what will it cost me to change? It will cost me my dignity. It will cost me my ego, my knowledge. It rubs against my values. This isn't the right thing to do. What will it cost me not to change? Might cost me my job. If I don't change, what else is affected by that? Because once you know the answer to those two questions, what does it cost me to change? What does it cost me if I don't change? Now you have decision criteria, which is the third step. Now you have to make a decision. Am I sticking with my inner Queen Elizabeth and saying, thank you very much, I've considered it, and we're done? Or, thank you very much, I've considered it, and now that I've gone through the fit gates, and I know what I value your opinion's valid on this particular point, I value your opinion, you know what you're talking about on this particular issue, your opinion is valid on this particular point, what will it cost me to change? What will it cost me not to change? Those are your decision factors. That's where you decide I'm making a move or not making a move. Now, for a lot of us, we assume, especially on this criticism part, we don't get through the fit gates because the assumption is, before we even get to valid, is it valid or not? The assumption is that, like in Jennifer's case, if it's my boss, I have to do it because otherwise I'm going to get fired. We assume that whether or not there's any reality behind that, because we're so used to playing safe, because it's for our survival mode and it's how we protect ourselves. So when we do that, then we don't step up as leaders to go back to the boss to say, and again, Jennifer, it may not be appropriate in your case, but In a lot of cases, it's actually very appropriate to go back to a boss and say, I heard what you said. I thought about it. I have a different way of looking at this, and here's what it is. Your boss may still tell you, oh, too bad. You're going to do it my way. Okay. Or your boss might listen and let you try things your way. The likelihood that your boss fires you over a difference of opinion, especially if it's expressed politely and respectfully, is actually pretty small in most environments. In fact, it's incredibly small in most environments. It's one of the biggest fears we have, honestly. I've had women work for me who have said they were afraid to make a mistake because I would fire them. And we literally had very blunt conversations where I've had to look at them and go, why would I fire you, even if you made a mistake? Let me show you the laundry list of mistakes I've made, right? None of us are superhuman, but we have this thing, right? We have this fear in the back of our head that says my survival is dependent on my making this person happy and being perfect. We're not even talking about perfection now because that's a much bigger issue and we're already running up on time. So those are your 3 steps, and you've got 5 fit gates in step number 2. Pull out your Queen Elizabeth. Ask yourself the 5 questions. Who's offering the criticism? Is their opinion valid in this context? Is the opinion valid at all? What does it cost me to change? What does it cost me not to change? And then your 3rd step is make your decision. Make your decision. The benefit here, guys, is it's a conscious decision. Even if what you choose to do is the same as the automatic reaction that you thought that you were going to have, now it's a conscious decision. The whole point of building your life and owning your life and taking back control of what you're trying to build and what you're trying to create for yourself is conscious decision making. When we're reactive, we're not in control. We're just reacting, and we're reacting to old patterns. When we can consciously say, okay, but I chose this and I'm continuing to choose this. 1, we're conscious. 2, we have no excuses. We're owning our stuff. But that accountability and that ownership is exactly how we step into our power. That's exactly what it is. So here's the deal. Enjoy the praise. If you look fabulous in that green shirt and somebody tells you so, thank you, and enjoy how it feels. We all deserve a good ego stroke. So thank you very much. I love this green shirt too, but maybe don't rush out and buy a bunch more green stuff. Because then you got to sit back. Is green really my favorite color? Do I actually like this shirt? Maybe, maybe not. Enjoy the praise. Evaluate the criticism. Some of it you'll be able to throw away right off the bat. Some of it you're going to want to go through the 5 fit gates, but evaluate the criticism. I'm not saying that we can't live without other people and their opinions, but I'm saying we ought to be, for our own good, far more careful about whose opinions we let influence how we build our lives. Because at the end of the day, for both our career and our personal lives, we're the only ones in control of it. We're the only ones who make those choices. And do it on your own terms. When you're doing it consciously, you are doing it on your own terms. So I know we ran a little long. I'm usually around 30 minutes or just under, but two quick things tonight then before I let you go. So first of all, this work that I'm talking about, right? Working through understanding those fit gates, getting to the decision-making process, working through how you want to rebuild your life, right? If you're one of those women who's faced with that question of what now? What do I do now? I don't know myself anymore. Or if you've got something going on and you know where you want to go, but you're not quite sure how to get there, I'm going to invite you to drop the word queen in the chat. And the word queen in the chat means that you and I are going to connect one-on-one for about 15 minutes to just talk through an issue, an area where you're working on it or you're concerned, with the goal, this is a very specific conversation, with the goal of getting you to one action item that gets you closer to the end result that you're looking for. So you drop the word queen in the chat. I will reach out to you probably via DM, and we'll schedule 15 minutes for you to talk. It's a sales-free zone. I'm not selling anything in a 15-minute conversation anyway. It's literally just for us to get to know each other and to focus on getting you one step closer to the goal, to the life that you want to lead, to solving the problem that you're wrestling with, just getting you closer to being more in touch with you and consciously leading your life. So the key word is queen. The second announcement is that next Tuesday night, instead of our regular training Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a masterclass. You will see the details for that coming up. The masterclass is going to be about imposter syndrome. So if any of you have ever thought about imposter syndrome and how it's affecting your life, and want to talk more about what is this exactly and how do we work through this thing called the imposter that lives in our brain that tells us we're not good enough, drop the word imposter in the chat and I will send you the links to getting signed up for that. So your 2 links are queen. We have a 15-minute conversation about making you more of a queen in your life. Imposter, I will send you the details for the Imposter Syndrome Masterclass that will be next Tuesday night. So next Tuesday night, we will not be here in the live. We will be instead in a masterclass, talking a whole bunch about imposter syndrome. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. Your 2 keywords are queen and imposter. Kind of funny to put those both in the same thing, huh? But drop either one. You will get the relevant information. And it was my pleasure. And thanks, guys, for chatting and joining in on the conversation tonight. That was fun. I will see you guys next Tuesday.